morning, guys. Good morning, everyone. How we doing? How we doing? All right. We are good to go. Welcome back, everyone. Let's pop out the chat. What's up, Margin? How you doing, man? Gold keeps going down. Yeah, it's actually, I think it's probably finding a little bit of a low here. I think it's probably about, at some point you're gonna have everyone trying to chase the gold shorts, and then it's just gonna rip. So I'm no longer in any gold shorts here. I think this daily 20 SMA is right here. Let me make sure my screens are all right about there. Where's my TOS ticker? Why is that off? There we go. Yeah, I think this daily 20 down here probably has a little bit of something to say. This 40-20 spot. So I'm off the short side for now. We'll see. We'll see what it does there. Reassess the 40-80 retest rejection this morning, and then the 41-90 overnight rejection was very nice. So, yeah, I've been trading gold. Been doing really well at it too. It's actually been probably the best thing I've traded this whole week. Price action is fantastic. Price action has been fantastic on gold. Really nice movement. Much better than, it's been where the action's at. It's been where the focus is at. So you're having a lot of trading action in it, and that's what we need, right? We need some juice. So there's definitely been some juice over there. That's for sure. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Today we have Tesla earnings, so definitely something to be a little bit careful of. Desi, is there a 6:30 a.m. charting Zoom that you host? Yes, there is, but that's only for the mentorship group. 6:30 we start our charting. 6:30 a.m. we're on a Zoom call, and we're going through the charts, charting out everything, getting ready for the day. That's for the mentorship group only. Yeah. So yes. Thanks. Appreciate that Fade Doctor video yesterday. Yeah, I mean, definitely not my best work, but I wanted to get it out quickly, and I thought that there was some good piece of advice in that video from last night, right? Something that we hear a lot on the live stream, the Timmies and Jimmies. They come back to the live stream. They say, Desi, that level didn't work. That level nothing happened, right? This is important to understand. Levels are areas of interest that we can previously see reactions at. That doesn't mean it's going to react at that level every day the same way, right? If you think about that logically, if a level reacted the same every single time that it came to it, and you've heard me say this 1,000 times, so I sound like a broken record, but if key levels are respected every time, the market would go sideways for eternity, right? You would just have a market that would go between two levels forever. So key levels are designed to be broken, and when they are broken, that is when opportunity arises. That's when you make money. So you should actually look for key levels to break. That's what you want to happen. You want the downside level to break. You want the upside level to break. You want the continuation outside of that channel. But reading the price action at these areas of interest is what pays you the money. How good are you at reading price action at key areas? That's what pays you the money, and that's the difference between key levels and price action. So that was a very good video. I would go watch that. It's an important topic to pay attention to. Yeah, Akko's been getting hit, and we called the absolute top on that. My buddy from I some of my money is managed in a private wealth, and sometimes I give them calls and direct them on some things. And on Monday and Friday of last week, I was like, dude, sell Aqua, like sell at least half, maybe more. And then I'm getting a call back from him. He's like, what a great call. So, and then he also told me that he has people that want to buy gold that at the top. So it's a funny conversation at times with those guys, because they don't typically have people, I think, that are so active in the markets. But then when they have someone that's active in the markets, they're like, wow, this guy's on top of it. But yeah, I mean, great sell on Aklo. Sold. I had 300 shares. I'm down to 50 shares of Aklo. Sold about 250 shares up in the 170s, 160s, as you guys have heard me talk about pretty much every day on this live stream. So that was a good sell. I definitely do still believe that Aklo is, an interesting company, but as we've talked about, zero revenue on a stock that went up to $200 a share. I don't see why not take some off the table. So I know we already talked about that. I'm not going to get into it again. All right. Anyways, it's game time. Press that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you guys are over there on X, come on over to YouTube if you want. Press the like button for me. I'd appreciate that. All right, let's do it. Let's find some setups. I have a few setups today that I like, and I'll be honest with you, there's not that much good stuff out there on equities because of the market. So if we go into the NASDAQ, we go into the ES, the market, whoops, why is that freaking out on me? There we go. The market is very sideways, guys, okay? And I need you to understand that. It's incredibly sideways. It's awaiting a catalyst, and this is when you take your hands off the trigger, at least for directional options trades, right? This is not good environment for directional options trades. So yesterday sort of came in with the thesis of this might not be a great day. We have Tesla earnings. We have Netflix earnings. We have a very clear channel. And that was exactly what we did all day, man. We stayed within this channel all day. What a terrible day on the stock market in terms of the intraday action. Now, of course, there is still money to be made. Again, I do not discriminate on moves. There is still money to be made, and I know someone's going to come and say, Desi, I made so much money yesterday. What are you talking about? Right? Yes, of course, there's money to be made at any moment in the day. But when you zoom out, you can see how sort of sideways that was, and this is not an environment where options expand, which is what you need. You need expansion. So for me as an options trader, a little bit careful during these times, just a little bit more hands off, taking smaller positions. Right? If I get a couple $1,000, if I step away early. So like yesterday, took a loss, took a win, took a loss, took a break even, ended the day like $1,000 up towards the end of the day, was down 1,000, back up 1,000, pretty much break even, give or take. That's the type of day that I wanted to have in here. Step away. Don't push for anything crazy. Don't go on tilt because nothing's happening. All right, accept it and wait for something to happen. So, anyways, NASDAQ futures, you guys can see here, previous lows, nothing changes. So this might be a pretty boring live stream, just so you guys know. Nothing has changed since yesterday. Nothing. Lows, highs, lows. I have not touched a single level today. None of these levels have been adjusted at all. So, lows, highs, lows. Highs, highs. So, welcome to your NTZ. All right? This is your no trade zone. For me, this is definitely my no trade zone. If we're inside of this range today, I would expect little to no continuation. I would expect pretty choppy and pretty difficult price action. You could look to long a deeper pullback into this 25-113, 25-180. Look for some type of a buying reason out of this low, or you could look to fade this high. But right now, right, to be honest, it's more bullish than it is bearish, even though it is at all-time highs. So here's the problem, right? You're floating right under all-time highs, which is absolutely a possible rejection point. But you are turning these previous highs into lows, right? So this is technically a very bullish consolidation, right? Above these previous highs. That's very good. you're turning those previous highs into nice lows. That's bullish. However, it's right into the all-time high. So this is just the push and pull effect. Do you want to be long here? Yes, but do you want to be long into that? Probably not. Do you want to be short here? Yes, but do you want to be short right into this hold? Probably not. All right, so it's such a, push and pull area that there's just no true conviction to either direction right now. We need a catalyst. We need something to break us out of these highs, or we need something to bring us back down. Something to move this out of this channel would be great. This deeper pullback would be pretty much a blessing, in my opinion. You would like to get this. You would like to see this. Deeper pullback to the daily 20. Create that new long, right? Add some liquidity to the markets. Get some people to try to short this. Get down into the daily 20. Hold it and rip back higher. That's really what you'd want to see if you're bullish. That would be the most bullish move. If you pulled back deeper, held the daily 20 and started to see this happen, right? That would be the money trade, the thing that adds the best liquidity to the markets, back to the daily 20, back to key demand, squeeze that thing back higher after pulling in some more shorts into this market, right? That would be great. We'll see if we get it. If you are long today, okay, and I need you to be, sometimes you got to be hard on yourself, right, guys? Like you can't just look at a mistake and be like, oh man, I suck. Oh well, right? If you long today, and if I long today, right, and I say this to myself, I don't just talk to you, I do this to myself, right? I'm very critical of my own performance. You guys that are in the group know when I lose, I hate it, right? If I long today and this high rejects and this goes lower, I have no one to blame but myself out of my pure idiocracy, right? There is no explanation for or trying to weasel your way out of a loss if you long into this high and lose, right? That's like the easiest thing to see in the world. Double top highs, all-time high. Triple top highs, all-time high. If we're long into this and this fails, then you got to say, well, yep, that makes sense. I longed right into all-time highs, okay? So not saying that it won't break out, but this is super clean right now, and you have very clear areas to be careful, right? Now it's up to you to decide how you trade this intraday. I would only want to be long here. I would only want to be short here. And I would really, to be honest, I really wouldn't want to trade at all inside of there, but those would be the only spots. It would be preferable to get a break and retest above or a break and retest below, right? That's where the continuation comes about, all right? S&P 500 futures, really nice holds, really nice holds. This is why I'm not that bearish on today, even though we are into this supply, right? I shouldn't be that bullish because I'm not going to, if I lose longing into this high, then I have no one to blame but myself, because that would be a very obvious rejection. That is not some type of, hard to read rejection there. However, the reason I really don't want to short that high is because this is still holding very nicely, right? Look at this. Lows, 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 highs, highs. Look at this structure building here. This is very good. This is very good right now. I mean, in my opinion, it is. Right? You continue to see the market maintain these highs, and you're holding back above all of these lows. So this is still a bullish consolidation, in my opinion. Very much so. The problem is, do you want to take it long here into this high? I think it's possible, but you're going to have to live with the fact that if you take that long and this fails, then, you're going to have to live with the fact that, yes, the all-time high rejected and we moved lower. And so I'm just going to have to accept that L. It's either you got to accept that L if you're wrong on an all-time high rejection, or you don't take it at all, right? That's the only option here. So if you wanted long this low here, that would be what you're looking for, right? Hold this 67.50, create a nice demand down in this area here, and then rip this thing back to all-time highs. That would be your look. Is it possible that you have to fail lower under 67.50, possibly into that daily 20? That's a possibility, right? Maybe something like this. Find new buyers, come back up. That's definitely something I would like that more, right? I like longs after traps. So, like, for example, that's the same as the NASDAQ. You fail here, move back to the daily 20, trap shorts, back to the upside. That would be there would be actual fuel to that move, right? There would be some serious rocket fuel behind the long if you really held this and then reclaim these lows. That would be the reclaim ripper after coming down and adding liquidity at the daily 20, right? That's the reclaim ripper move that I would look for. We'll see if we get it, right? The worst thing you could do today, okay, here's the worst thing you could do today. If this pulls back and you start shorting into the daily 20 and then it does this, that's the worst thing you could do. So make sure you understand a pullback at this point into the daily 20 is not bearish. There is no such thing as bearish pullbacks into the daily 20. Never. If we're trading above a daily 20 and we're pulling back into it, that is always a bullish pullback to me. At least in my book. That's in my book. If you fail under the daily 20, then it gets a little bit shaky, right? Retest rejection under that, that's shaky, right? That's bearish. That's where I would short, personally. That's the ES underneath probably 6720, 6700. You start failing that, then we got a different story on our hands. But anything downside towards this daily 20 is bullish to me. All right? SPY, bullish longer term, right? Not bullish on the nanosecond, and then people are going to, don't comment on the live stream at 10:30 and say Desi was bullish today and the market's at 10:30, and then it's by 4 o'clock, it's back to the upside, right? It's bullish, bigger picture, not bullish at 10:30 when you're commenting on the live stream, right? Coming back here in hindsight, all right? So, these lows, these highs, this is what I'd be watching on the SPY. I'm still looking at that 668, 668, 70 area. Right in here, I think that is still a good spot. That's this high. That's these lows. You do have this Wednesday high, and you can see that Wednesday high is actually what's continuing to hold the market up. So that's pretty strong on the SPY, right? This Wednesday high right here, look at this hold. Holding pretty good. 670.23, pretty decent hold right there, for sure. Right? Pretty decent hold. So, I don't really like that long off this right here because I would still want to be long off here, right? And here's the problem that probably could happen today. You would try a long off this low, and then it would sort of go quickly aggressively to the downside, which would likely stop you out, and then it would come down into the real demand, and then it would do something like this, right? After stopping you out. So I don't really like this long at the Wednesday high a day right here. I don't love it. It's not really a big spot for me. Even though it's holding, it's not really a major spot. For me, the major spot's right in here, right in here, right? And if we go over, right in here, right in here, right in here, in there, in there. That's where I think the real setup is. But that doesn't mean we're going to get it, right? This could just rip off this Wednesday high a day, and this may never, fill in. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But for now, I'm going to be watching that 670.23, and I'm going to be looking for a little bit of a deeper pullback into here to get a little bit more interested. That daily 20 is down at 665. The upside supply, 673, 674 is clearly the level to break. I like the daily 20 to catch up. Yeah, I mean that's always what you want. Look at what happened on Monday. Daily 20. You love when the daily 20 starts catching up to price action, man. That's when you're starting to get in a trend, right? So you've gotten that daily 20 to go from trend to sideways, right? Can we start to see the little trend again, right? That's what you want to start seeing. And you can see it's actually made a little bit of a jump here, right? Just a little one. But if you look at that daily 20, it went from trending, right? Sideways, because of the consolidation. And now, can we start to get the higher lows, and can we start to get the trend to establish again? That's what we're going to have to see. QQQ. Same levels as yesterday. I have not touched a single level from all day yesterday, which is perfect. Makes my life a lot easier. Previous highs into lows here. 610, 609.36. Exact low a day yesterday. Let's grab that. Exact LOD from yesterday is right there, 609.32. We had 33, so we were a cent off the low a day yesterday. So really nice. Under that, 607.50. Under that, daily 20. Upside supply continues to get heavy at 613. we got to get outside this channel, man. We got to get outside of the channel. Okay? Let's go to gold real quick. You guys can see right here, gold is just sitting at the daily 20. Some really sick moves on gold lately, man. This 42.90 rejection that we talked about on the live stream yesterday, I pulled up the account. I showed you I was short here on the live stream off 42.90. And if you followed me on that, you caught the biggest downside day on gold since 2013, 2014. So, I mean, right here on the live stream, we pulled up the account, showed you I was short right here off 42.90 off the break and retest rejection. And that was the largest red day on gold since 2013. So not bad. Not bad at all. Then we break under this low and this high and this low. And look what happened this morning. Break, retest, bam, bam, right off the level. Right here, right here, right here, right here. Perfect. I mean, this thing is trading very nicely in terms of key levels. So that's beautiful. Now, you are down into some pretty decent demand. So I'm not a big fan of chasing shorts. You definitely cannot be a chaser of gold, by the way. You chase gold, you're liquidated. Here's some demand right here, and right here where we bounced in the overnight session around 40.10, 40.20, and this daily 20 SMA. I would assume there's a little bit of a battle here, right? I'm not a big fan of just shorting right into this low. That's not what I've done to make money on gold, is short into lows, okay? So I would want to see a bounce here. For me personally, I think a bounce into this 40.80 to 41.05 area, this is where I'd want to see if we can find another lower high on gold right in here, right? At these highs right here, right here, right here. Do we see a lower high at 40.80 right here? That's going to be something I watch today. Now, that's going to be a little bit close to this daily 20, so I'm not sure I'll be too aggressive on that one, but that would be interesting. If you reclaim 41.05, this low, or if you reclaim 40.80 right here, this actually could be the most interesting long on gold today. Now, we'll see if technicals, if it does that, but we need to see if it can reclaim this zone. If you can reclaim back above these highs and this low, after a lot of people probably are trapped short down in this daily 20 area, this probably could give you a really nice squeeze to the upside back towards 41.90. That's actually quite an interesting read today. I would be watching for that. So that would be a bounce off 40.10 and the daily 20. That would be a strong push off that level back above 40.80 and 41.05. If you could then see a pullback, hold in this area, and start to consolidate, that would be an interesting reclaim ripper for the move up to 41.90. Right? That's actually a trade that I'm very much watching for today. Because at some point, the short's going to get crowded. As everyone starts, oh my God, I'm short gold, right? The short on gold was where we shorted it yesterday. It's probably going to start getting crowded as you move lower. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. When I zoom out on this, if I go to the daily chart, I mean, this whole move could be given back, to be quite honest. All right, there's nothing stopping gold from giving back this entire move. That is definitely possible. But I'm assuming there's going to be bounces along the way, so I don't think you would bet on that. Underneath the daily 20, I'd say this 39.22 spot is probably the most likely. At right here at these highs right there. So we'll see what happens, but definitely interested in the gold trade today. It's been a great thing to trade. It's been very clean. It's very aggressive though, my friends. So if you're a new trader, I would be a little bit careful. 2,400 people, 2,500 people, 800 likes. If you guys could, please press that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate that. If you are new, help me continue to grow. All right, SMH, not a big fan today, honestly. A lot of the semis just sort of look sideways, so I'm not really tracking this too heavily. I think I'm going to need maybe a pullback here, right, to really think of any kind of aggressive action. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. To $10 a month for the YouTube stream, that's just to be supportive of the channel, John. That doesn't really include much. You get included in be able to chat in the chat, and you'll be able to get your questions answered, and you are supporting me doing this for free every day. That's really the thing. So if you want to support me for doing this for free for you every day, that's sort of the YouTube donations. I appreciate that to the coffee fund. All right. So for me on the SMH, it's really daily 20. It's really daily 20 for me there. That's it. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to some individual equities. Let's talk about my top watches on the day. Apple. Insane again off the morning open, but didn't really do anything after that. But man, is this starting to set up, guys. I would definitely be watching Apple today, my friends. This is day 2, technically day 3, but you definitely can see that there is some reason to look for this retest long entry, right? Look at this 4 hour. You have a nice break. You have a nice consolidation above all-time highs, right? That is a big check mark. That is a big plus for Apple. The fact that it was able to consolidate over the all-time high level, that's very big, right? So previous highs, all-time highs, look at the hold above that. So that's a big plus. That should definitely keep Apple. How do I make a radar? Ding, ding. Apple's just pinging on the radar, right? Bing. What am I doing making drawings? All right, sorry, terrible drawing. Apple should be on the radar, right? Very, very clear. So that's big time watch, huge watch. You can see the retest. You can see it starting to maintain. That is exactly the previous all-time high, my friends, right there. Okay, let's see. It had a lot of trouble at 265 yesterday. Okay, so let's just mark out some highs here, right? So you have Monday highs, okay? Mon high, mon high. And then you have two's high. So those are the 2 highs that I would be watching. Right there. Monday high, Tuesday high. Be careful up there for potential failures, right? But this is the area to look to see if buyers step up. Big watch. Oklo. This is my second biggest watch. Yeah, I tried Apple yesterday. Got smoked on it. Got smoked. But we'll try it again. You got to keep trying. I tried Apple on this right here on this little curl. I think it was VWAP. It was this 264 reclaim. It looked good. It looked really good to me. But got smoked. Took a loss. And that is that. Jade Cap made a great comment yesterday on Twitter. You guys know Jade. The only thing that's guaranteed in trading is losing. That is definitely a guarantee. So if you can't take a loss, then you are not meant to be here, my friends. So let's continue. Oklo. Sick downside move. I think starting to become a little bit mindless. I hate to say it, but it's true. It's starting to break down everything. It's starting to break down. Let's just put it at that. Now, where you want to be short Oklo is a failure right here. If you can get a bounce and a fade right here, that is the money spot right there. The money spot is not shorting after this live stream off the open into this demand low and then complaining about my calls being terrible, right? That's not where you short, okay? So you don't short into triple bottom lows right here off the open because Oklo's down and we talked about it. Where you need to short is back into the rejections on a retest of that rejection point, right? Something like this. Retest, rejection. Break, retest, rejection. That's where you short, right here. All right, so unfortunately, there's not really a trade on Oklo right now. But this is definitely something that should be watched because that's what it did here in the pre-market. All right, unfortunately, that retest rejection sort of took place already in the pre-market. But that doesn't mean that you can't get another bounce into that level. That's very possible. So I am definitely watching that very closely, looking to see if a new entry does form. The next demand low is very clearly at 131. I would say even bring it down to 130, right? I'd be careful everywhere between the 131 and 130 spot, to be honest. What's this high right here? Yeah, like 130 to 131, 129.50s. I would be careful shorting into those lows because that's some previous very clear highs there. Right here, very clear highs and lows right here. So I would not be short into that. That's for sure. That likely creates a bounce, and that could be the bounce that you want to get us back into this 145 failure. Now, if Aklo bounces and reclaims 144.50, 145, then it's going higher, and it's reclaiming this high, and that would be the bullish thing to look for. So let's see. If you fail this low here, then you're probably heading back to this right here at 121, 122. Under that, you're going right here to 110. So we'll see. But this is starting to get clean. It's definitely breaking down some major previous highs here. Very clear. Jeremy, appreciate that. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much. All right. So that's a second big watch for me today. The third big watch for me today is going to be Google. So Google is fighting off that news yesterday very, very well. All right, fighting off that OpenAI browser news that it tanked off of right into the, take a second for the level that it tanked into, right? Take a second for TTL. Take a second for key levels, right? And this is why key levels are so important. Look at this. There, right? We had this level yesterday. This has not changed. This has been on our charts all week. Google, daily 20. This is why you don't short into the daily 20, by the way. Here. Look at this. Straight down, up. Straight down off news, straight back up. All right, so Google, this proves to you that Google's got some juice at this demand, right? There's definitely some juice there. So I'm definitely keeping eyes on this today. The fact that it bounced that strong and it recovered this well off this daily 20 and 247 demand is incredible. And look at this recovery, and now 258. If you get a break and retest over 258, you got to look for this today. Big time. So that's another big watch for me today. Okay? Semiconductors are really off the docket for me today. Tesla sure as hell is off the docket, and congratulations to those that have stayed away from this thing. It still has not gone anywhere. Earnings are tonight, and I would expect that something happens tonight, so I would still stay away from it. Nvidia, I still don't see a reason to trade. It's still in a sideways channel, just sideways for the last entire week. Broadcom, sideways for an entire week. TSM, sideways for an entire week. MRVL, maybe some downside to be looking for, but it looks like it already did it. Shit. Okay. MRVL started, already went here, unfortunately, and here's the reason it went, because it failed back under the daily 20 right here. Look at this. See this high right here? Look at that failure. Bam. So, unfortunately, that trade's probably gone, because you're coming back down into this 80 demand, back into this high here at 78 and the daily 200 SMA. So I really don't think I'd be short into the daily 200. I would be short if we popped and faded, right? Look for the pop and fade. Look for a pop. Look for this high and all these lows to turn back into rejections, right? That's the entry point. So I would probably set an alert here and see if it gets back to it. And that's it. Job's done. Now it's time to be patient, right? Hood, sick rejection. This is a perfect break and retest rejection. This is why you don't chase, okay? This chart right here shows you what we talk about. This right here will show you and showcase why you look for the retest, right? This right here. So, Hood breaks back below this key demand, breaks back below the daily 20 right here, right? Previous holds, very nice, 138, 140, breaks down below it, right? Bam. What happens next? Well, after a big drop under that breakdown point, it's eventually going to retest that level, right? At some point, it will retest. Now, for some people, they can't hold off. They have to short it. Oh, my God. And then that's typically the people that short into these lows back into previous highs and then get taken out. Now you can see here, yesterday and over the last few days, we've popped higher. Guess where we popped higher to? Right back into the exact breakdown point. Right back into that rejection point. Look at this on yesterday. Look at this on, yesterday and Monday. Failure daily 20, failure daily 20. There we go, right? Break and retest rejection. Perfect. That's the type of trade you want to look for. Let something fail, let it retest, and then look for that secondary move. So today, it's all right. You can still look for this to be a continuation move, right? But you aren't technically getting the best entry at the retest, so you are a little bit extended. You can look for the 130 level here to fail, maybe down into this 123 and this low at the daily 50, and then eventually maybe back down to 118. But that right there is a break and retest. That's a beauty. Amazon, I got nothing unless it gets over 222. 222 was the level it needed to break above yesterday. It squeezed right into it and rejected, so nothing. Meta, same thing. This was our supply level yesterday. It squeezed into it and rejected. So for me, the thing that I would look for on Meta today is a retest and higher low right here. Can Meta create a higher low right here and put behind this lower half, right, and create a new structure? That's what I would look for. Can Meta turn the daily 20 and 721 into new support? Maybe then we get a little bit interested. ASTS is this is a really interesting downside trade today. Hopefully this is not gone by the open. Look how clean this is, my friends. You have previous major lows here, previous highs, right? This little breakout, this little pivot point right here at 75.50. See this and then this. Look at what's happening right now. That's a setup. That's a sick setup. And I hope it looks like it's tanking right now, isn't it? Yeah, this is a really sick setup here today. ASTS downside. Here, here, here. Look at that retest rejection. That should absolutely come down to 67 here, in my opinion. If you stay under the daily 20 today, if you see maybe a little bit of a rejection at the daily 20, that should trade to 67.30. Under that, you're going to trade to 60.50. Under that, you're going to trade down to these SMAs. You can see this is starting to lose its structure low, right? Look at that. That's really nice. I would be watching that. That doesn't mean I think this is a bad company. I actually think this is a good company. This is an interesting company, but it's time to look for some potential downside there, in my opinion. CRM pull back to 260. That was a sick trade yesterday. Looking for upside on this one off the 260 retest. That's something I'm watching today. And that's really just about it. Gold is pushing higher right now off of our key daily 20 demand, which is fantastic. You can definitely see that starting to step up. So good no shorts down here. Really nice. Lulu, yeah, what's Lulu been up to? It's sort of dead, but maybe a comeback move eventually here. Yeah, it's starting to wake up a little bit, right? Yeah, Chef, I see it. A little wake up. Yeah, a little wake up here. A little reclaim of these highs. It's actually quite nice. Yeah, it's reclaiming the daily. Yeah, I would say if it holds the daily 50 and 180 here, Chef, it's not a bad watch. Not a bad watch, actually. It's actually a really good watch, I'd say. If you can get a nice hold over this 180 spot. Look at that. Is that a gap? Looks like a gap. Yeah, it sure is. Yeah. Is it time to buy Lululemon stock? I took the stance on the last earnings that it is not, and I'm happy I did because it's still way lower because of the competition in the market. I personally like Aloe for men more than I like Lululemon at this point. Man, this thing has gotten sort of hit, huh? Is it eventually time to dabble in some Lulu? I don't know. Clothing company has a lot of competition now. I'm a little bit hesitant to do it, but it might be one of those that you want to fire on, right? Maybe you regret it long term if you don't. Would like to see maybe like a comeback quarter or something. You probably don't need to buy it until you have like a really good Lululemon rockets on China tailwinds. Is teeing up for comeback. Product revamps on the horizon. Refresher assortments. Yeah, man. I mean, here's the thing, right? Here's why it's interesting, because I could tell from going in. I go to Lululemon quite often. I could tell from going into that store that it is the same shit that's been there for a very long time. I haven't seen innovation inside their stores. I have not seen changes in their clothing. It's all the same pants, the same shirts, the same. Like, I have the pants on right now. They're like this quilted material. I don't know if you can see that. This like quilted material. This is the same stuff that they've had for forever. So they need to do something. And it does get interesting as a potential pullback opportunity, but something needs to change there, in my opinion. Okay. Someone wanted to look at CRWV. Yeah, CRWV sort of died off for me. I'm not sure I'm interested anymore. This supply, we talked about this supply every single day on this live stream, and we said don't long into it, and you can see it just ended up rejecting. So for me, it's over. You're starting, guys, okay, this is not like for sure, but you are starting to see a little bit of a cool off in the just small cap insanity, right? Like Oklo has been pulling back. Palantir's been very quiet. CRWV and Circle are sort of dying off. FIG died off heavily. ASTS is starting to turn around a little bit. What's RGT? What are these stocks? Look at Rigetti, whatever the hell this is, the headquarters in their parents' basement company here. These are starting to find a little bit. When this starts to happen, you need to be very quick to react, okay? For you guys out there, okay, here's my piece of advice to end the live stream, because this is new for some people, and I understand that, okay? So listen up. These small cap names that you guys have been trading, like these ones that everyone's talking about, oh my God, look at Palantir, look at Oklo, look at Rigetti, look at Circle, look at CRWV, look at FIG, look at all these crazy small caps. You cannot be the last person on these. If you are the last person on this move, on this train, you are going to get smoked. And you need to know when that train or that shift in momentum has hit. And I'm not saying for sure that has happened, but you are absolutely starting to see it. You cannot think of these stocks the same as they were when they were going straight up. You cannot. It's not like Apple, where a pullback is very good. It's not where like Tesla or like Google, where a pullback can get bought up very quickly. If this momentum shifts on these small caps, they are not going to come back for a while, and you are going to experience heavy drawdown. So you got to be careful, okay? You need to know this. I know many of you know this, but some people out there may not. You can't trust small caps when that momentum shifts, because if it does, it's not pretty. And you can already see, for example, a stock like Rigetti is down 35% from its highs. So when everyone's jumping on the train at $60 and they think, oh, this will come back, Rigetti could come back to $20. And then maybe it comes back higher in like a couple months, right? It's not the same as a Apple pullback that pulled back 3%. Okay, this is 20, 30, 40% pullbacks. Not saying that's happening, but you're starting to see something like that, and I would be very aware of it, okay? All right, so be smart out there before you just start going after every shiny object. That's why you guys know me. I've been on this live stream for 5-6 years for free, and I never chase shiny objects. I always look at Apple, Nvidia, Meta, Google. The big names is my core strategy. I don't get too wrapped up in those small caps. There are times where I feel left out on them, but I always get satisfaction, and I always get reminded why I don't do it when they fail 30, 40% after everyone is long at the highs, right? And I never have to experience that. Now, of course, I miss out on some upside, but it does require very good timing and a lot more management. Okay? Very important. Very important. Yeah, I would say some of the ones that I talked about in there, like I would say Aquo, maybe. Yeah, I would say like Palantir is probably, you can probably leave Palantir out of that conversation. But, like Fig, CRWV, Circle, what are some other popular ones lately? Rigetti. It's all those, sort of juicers. But yeah, there's some that you can leave out, of course, like Palantir is a good one. That one used to be. This one, I think, has earned its way into. This has graduated. This has prestiged. Palantir has prestiged for sure to something different. So yeah. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the live stream. Hope you learned something. Press that like button if you want to trade live with me every day. You can check out the link down below. Make sure to head out, or make sure to come to the live stream on Friday. Friday, free day. We will do our live stream. Yeah, I would say, what is Netflix dropping? Oh yeah, 11:43. That's the big spot. 11:43. That's the big spot for Netflix. It's earned its stripes. Yeah, definitely. 11:43 Netflix. Yeah, come to the live stream Friday, man. We'll be transitioning straight from this to live trading, so make sure to be here. Okay? Make sure to be here. Tell your friends, tell your family. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.